So there's a story that's been going around lately with the prime minister or um, member of parliament in Finland going around complaining that Africa needs to be punished for because some of those countries are supporting Russia or not supporting Ukraine or staying out of it or whatever, so that the Africa needs to be punished. And along the lines of that thinking, he's been going around saying things about how Africa needs abortion and they have too many children, too much. Um, I bring this up to talk about it because it's an opportunity for me to address a pretty important topic and a pretty important notion. The notion that there's too many people in Africa. Africa has they have too many babies. There are a lot of poor countries. They're not doing it. There's not a good job being done. There's not a good job being done in taking up care of the people that are there, right? Because there's a lot of poverty, and that's what you would say, right? But the notion that there's just too many people, that there's too burdensome an amount of people in Africa is completely, entirely false. That there's no basis for that whatsoever. So we're going to look at a map here of Africa, of the continent, and talk about if there's really any credibility to this claim. So looking at the map of the entire continent here, that is really to scale, and that compares how the other countries in the world compare to the size of Africa to scale. You can see that as far as the landmass goes, as far as the land masses go, we can fit the most populous country in the world is India, right? We can fit the entire landmass of India in Africa. The second most populous country in the world is China, also approximately, both of them at approximately 1.4 million, right? Both of them approximately 1.44 million. We can fit the entire landmass of China in Africa as well, both of them, right? And then the United States also. And then some random countries that are in Europe also. So if you look at it from that perspective, we can actually fit in the entire continent of Africa, and the number of countries that are in actual population right now are about, say, 3.5 billion. That's pretty much half the population, close to almost half the population that are on Earth. Almost half the population that's on Earth right now, we can fit the land masses of those countries, just throw them into the continent of Africa, and they would fit. They would just be right there. So I bring this up to just to illustrate the point that the idea that there's too many people in Africa doesn't really make that much sense, because the amount of people that are there now is less than 1.4 billion. So so it's almost about that, right? Maybe. So it's kind of like, it's unfair. I feel like it's another form of racism that the West likes to do, or that anybody who wants to behave that way wants to do, is to just say, oh, to the point where even the Africans believe it sometimes. Even the Africans, in some of the areas where they like to sort of like bow to the white people that come there, they'll look at their own like, oh, whatever, like you and your problems or something like that. But so the idea that somehow Africans are somehow burdensome is it's a very racist notion, and it's a very dangerous notion, because, and there's no basis for it. I just said, how come, like, despite that all these other countries have a smaller landmass and have way more people, they never say to them, oh, well, they need more abortion. I mean, God, you know, not that they should say that. Not that they should say that about any highly pop, any, any super pop. They shouldn't say that. But how come they're so quick to want to say that about Africa? It's like, with the flip of a tongue, you know? And there's even a popular story that around 2014 or 15 or so that I'll just leave that alone. That some really famous billionaire was trying to sterilize women on that continent or something like that. And which is a really messed up notion because you wouldn't try that anywhere else. And to me, it's not evident. It doesn't prove that Africa's to this or to anything. It just proves that they're easy to just do what you want, just to step on. And so they need to step up their game so that they're not so easy to step on. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to digress. The point is, the idea that everything needs curbing to some extent, it's total rubbish, because whenever it's somebody else, they don't say that. They only want to say that whenever it's Africans or Black people, whatever. So no, that's not the case. Africans do not need abortions. There's no overpopulation in Africa. Nope, not at all. Sorry. Just that idea is that's a non-starter. It's completely false. Because given the landmass of that continent, it can accommodate the amount of people that are there, and twice that and 3 times that. So no, I'm not saying that people should have children in poverty. They shouldn't, because that's probably more the issue. The issue is more just being able to do things sustainably. I think that's the issue, sustainability. But just the sheer idea that somehow there's by their virtue of being, our Africans are burdensome, and I don't accept that. And I think that it's horrible for anybody to say that, and anybody who's ever been, those who've been selling those ideas and those notions that are cruel, and they just they want to do away with Africans, and Africans aren't going anywhere. So yeah.